Yo, welcome back to the channel. This is not James, I'm Jimmy. Um, Wanted to react to a video that Mark Bell put out earlier today around the evolution of the sugar diet. The video is titled Sorry If I've Been Wrong About Some Stuff. The evolution of the sugar diet, which is just a great title. It's a great uh point of view in my opinion, especially compared to the way Cole handles changing his mind. This doesn't seem like it's about to blame me for just hearing somebody out or be accused of misconstruing a very direct message. So I'm gonna play this through and make my little comments, and we'll see how that goes. Please like and subscribe. We are up to 49. Let's hit 50, then let's hit 100. But please hit that like button if you enjoy the content.
Mark Smelly Bell here. Wanted to communicate with you guys about sugar fasting, the sugar diet, and some modifications that I've made. Over the last couple weeks, I've been experimenting more with having a little bit more protein in the latter half of the day, and I'm still utilizing sugar fasting throughout the morning time with some couple of small changes where I may have a little bit of rice, or I might have a little bit of like a rice cake or something like that. Sorry about the dog barking out here in Bodega Bay. It's windy and there's tons of dogs on the street, so you might not always be able to hear me the best you possibly can, but I want to make this video just to keep active with.
So he mentioned sugar fasting through the day and a regular meal at night, which is how I lost my weight. Granted, it's much slower than eating only sugar that day, but I never really felt comfortable, or it was never as easy for me as uh, it was for other people to do the sugar fast. Like I was always left wanting something a little more substantial. I decidedly so added oatmeal and rice, and then it just evolved into this OMAD style that I'm living right now. 1 to 2 meals with protein in it. Everything else is based around carbs.
Communicating with you guys the best that I can. So I might have some rice cakes, and also starchier fruits on purpose, so that I'm not just only having the simple sugars. I ran into a couple of issues. One was, a lot of you guys saw me talking about smoothies. I ran into some smoothie issues, and the smoothie issues that happened were that they were making me cold. So it was primarily like, once I took that out, my cold tolerance shifted immediately. So I was having like 3 smoothies a day. Now I might have one, I don't know, once a day, once every other day, something like that. So I cut back on those. That seemed to help me tremendously. And I'm just sharing my own experiences, and then you guys can kind of do what you want. But after having a lot of people report back, my original sugar diet that I first talked about had protein in there. And I've been talking a lot about
And that's why I've been harping on the original diet. The original diet was don't be afraid of carbs. That was the main shtick, and then more so, don't be afraid of sugar. Like, sugar is not this evil demon food that instantly kills you as it's marketed to be. Especially when you consume it the right way and responsibly. So that's what I learned from his style of doing the diet, and I've been doing his style of the diet since I started. So have tons of energy. Granted, I have not lost that much weight, but I think there's some body recomposition going on. So we'll just keep playing it out and see. But even if I don't lose weight, this way of eating is better than the way I was eating before. But in the terms that I have a lot of energy. So even if I don't lose weight, I'll just be a big guy with a lot of energy to do everything that I need to do. So there's always a silver lining.
sugar fasting by day, lean meat and starch by night. And now I don't even know how necessary that really is, but I'm still experimenting with that because that feels good to me. And it feels like it could be stimulating some of the things that are potentially assisting with further fat loss and weight loss. I was 211 this morning, and my body weight is finally trending back downward after taking a little bit of time off from that. I've been traveling a bunch. I have a bunch of traveling coming up. But still, that aside, I'm going to just kind of set the goal out there by the end of August to be finally around that 200-pound mark, and then I'll work within being 205 to 210 basically for a while until I reset the goal and figure out if I want to gain weight, lose weight, or whatever it might be from there. In terms of muscle mass and stuff like that, depending on what picture I post or what video I post, people change their mind every week on whether I'm like more jacked or less jacked. And, there's angles and there's lighting and there's this and there's that, but I'm 210 pounds and I'm probably anywhere between 7.5% to 9% body fat, somewhere in there. And with that type of leanness coming from where I've come from, it's going to be difficult for me to always look big with my height and so forth. I don't know. I used to be right around 6 feet tall, and I think I'm like 5'10" now if I'm lucky. 5'10" on a good day. Anyway, I love all this shit, man, and I hope that you guys understand that, and I hope that you guys know that I love to experiment with these things. So I'm going to make some changes as I see fit. I'm also going with some of the recommendations from Cole. I know some of you hate him. Some of you hate the fact that he changes his tune here and there, but what he's
I don't think people hate the fact that he changes his tune. I think that's a little off base. They hate that he's accusing people of misunderstanding him when he said things very deliberately. Eat a whole jar of jam. Eat fruit. Add a ton of sugar. You can't overeat on sugar. And then a 180 when he's like, "I never said that. You guys are bastardizing. I was just using this. I was trolling." And it's just a bunch of junk. And it makes me think, honestly, like the way they've been tiptoeing around, maybe somebody that they were training or coaching um, got sick or something. I'm not sure, or got hurt, or there was a medical emergency, but they are really tiptoeing around their advice, which I think they should in the first place. They should definitely be careful. Like some of this out the gate was a little too much for, like, it's very scary to consume sugar because of everything I've learned in my adult life and as a child. Um yeah, so it was a big mental hurdle for me, but so was only eating meat and only eating high fat. That was equally scary because of the same reasons.
chasing after is the same thing I'm chasing after, and it's the same thing you're chasing after, and that's results. And I want to help people get results. So basically, if you can just think of this for the diet, because compliance is the science, and compliance and consistency are the two major things that will keep you going on your diet. Another thing that keep you going on your diet is to see some weight loss. So the scale should still trend downward, not daily. You shouldn't be, fired up about like losing, 7 pounds in 3 days, just as you shouldn't be worried about gaining 7 pounds in 3 days. The scale is more of a marker over time, but I personally like to weigh myself every day. You don't have to. You can choose to have your own interpretation of the scale. You can choose to have your own interpretation of whether you want to count calories or not. But this is a high carb, extremely low fat protocol for weight loss. And if you're going to count calories, I do not want you to particularly try to get yourself into a caloric deficit. I'd rather.
I don't know what it is for me, but counting calories is just the most miserable, mentally anguishing thing that I put myself through. It's my least favorite way of losing weight. It is tried and true. It is very reliable. And if it was easy spiritually, emotionally, I would suggest it if I was a trainer. But it's just the weighing, the food becomes so much of your day, and then at night you still may end up binging and undoing everything. And then the numbers game just it. I'm gonna speak for myself. I don't like counting calories. I really don't. I don't mind logging my food. I don't mind if the calorie count is in the log, but um, I had a protein goal back in the day. Not back in the day, like a month or so ago. I was doing a protein goal to hit 150 a day, and I would track only the foods that had protein in it. So I can hit that goal, see that goal, visual representation. So I'm not saying don't track, but for me right now, maybe if I stall and it's that last 15 pounds that I need to pay attention to, maybe so. But as it stands now, I don't see myself calorie counting anytime soon.
Have you have your hunger signals and so forth dictate whether the day is in a little bit of a surplus or a little bit of a low here and there. But stay with me for a second here and be patient. You're trying to increase your metabolic rate. And one of the reasons why I abandoned going, multiple days, which you guys can still do, it's your experiment, right? The smell.
That's something else I love about watching his content. It's something you can still do. It's something that worked for me. Just because I'm not doing it anymore doesn't mean it's not effective or it's not. It's like for your goals. If that's something you want to do, you can do it, and it's not these hard set rules that everybody has to follow. Because some people have certain results. Like if you are having results based on Cole's advice, keep doing what Cole said originally, not the 180. Um, of course, you're not going to be able to live on sugar for too long in a row. It's just you don't get any nutrients. But if you're burning fat, your body has plenty of nutrients and stored up that we need to work through. Like I got a whole backlog right here of nutrients. So let's see what else he has to say.
Smelly protocol 2.5 and 1.5. I still stand by those. I still think those can be effective. I don't think that we always need protein,
I'm
but I
gonna
think
move it
it's
back a
helpful for
bit so
those
it
of us
makes
that train.
sense.
And one of the reasons why I abandoned going, multiple days, which you guys can still do, it's your experiment, right? The smelly protocol 2.5 and 1.5. I still stand by those. I still think those can be effective. I don't think that we always need protein, but I think it's helpful for those of us that train hard. Maybe for those of you that train less, maybe that's more appropriate. Um, but for myself, I shifted into this new mode for multiple reasons, and I'll probably still do a full-on day of sugar fasting here and there, just like I'll go back to doing a dry fast, just like I'll go back to doing a 24-hour fast, probably occasionally, or one meal a day for a few days or something like that. I realize those things aren't necessarily pro-metabolic, but not everything we do has to be pro-metabolic all the time. Sometimes the negative impact of something is partially the positive of it. Just like when we're talking sometimes about eating plants, or we're talking about sometimes hormesis, a little bit of poison can go a long way sometimes. We know that that's important. Yeah, bringing that protein back in, making sure that that muscle sticks around. I, for one, was not saying at any time or by any means was not promoting, and if I did promote it this way, I didn't mean to promote it this way. I wasn't saying that you won't ever lose muscle by never eating protein. I was not saying anything like that.
I don't even think he's being fair to himself right there because he deliberately said those like you're gonna lose a little bit of muscle when you lose weight. There's almost no way around it. That's what he's been preaching the whole time. I don't. He was mentioning how he was surprised that on such low protein he seemed to be staying full and staying strong on his lifts, but I don't think he ever said that you would lose zero muscle. But as Cole would say, compare it to a no calorie fast, like it's a no brainer.
that. And you do have to keep in mind that there is some protein that comes from muscle by never eating protein. I was not saying anything like that. And you do have to keep in mind that there is some protein that comes from your fruits and your starches and so forth. But it's important to note that, again, if I made an error in saying something like that, or you interpreted it that way, I didn't mean for that to happen that way. I did say many times that when you have carbohydrates in your system, and when you're loaded up on carbohydrates for a day, I don't really think it's possible to lose much muscle. But maybe in some cases you would, and maybe in some cases it happens. But I just think that things happen in the body a little bit slower than that. And I think for each person, just a little bit of experimenting going on, I think, is critical. So I want to encourage you guys to do is try to go really high on your carbohydrates consumption. Keep the fats as low as you can. Like, I don't know, let's just shoot for, say, like under 30, under 40, under 30 to 40 grams for a while. For those of you that haven't tried this yet, I know Cole is telling people to go with, under 10. And I know that there's some other people out there saying zero fat, but there's no such thing as a zero fat diet. You can't really, I guess a zero fat diet could be done if you didn't eat anything. But a zero fat diet is basically impossible. But because there's always gonna be some trace amounts in there, right? So going very low fat can be super beneficial. Sugar is Life has a really good channel. I've been listening to a lot of his stuff. I think he's had a little bit of misinterpretations of some of the things I said, and I made some comments back to him, and hopefully we can kind of clear. I just don't like to be misunderstood, and I know that sometimes it's my own fault. I take full responsibility, but also sometimes it's just the internet, and it's just also hearsay. Like one thing ping pongs to another person, kind of like what happened with the smoothie thing, where people were like, oh, Mark's, thyroid and his body's totally dysregulated. His body's falling apart because he feels cold. It's like, no, these things are fucking freezing. They're super cold. And it made me feel like I was cold plunging because I was drinking like a large amount. And now I realize from.
So I love a good smoothie too. One thing I was hoping a smoothie would do would be get me going to the restroom so I can have, a solid, couple poops before eating the protein in the afternoon and eating the protein in the evening. But it didn't do that for me. What does do that for me again is that naked juice, especially that green machine. Second day in a row of just easy going, easy flowing, and it's been awesome. I broke. It's crazy because when I grill up a piece of chicken, it feels like a cheat meal now. I grilled up chicken and put barbecue sauce on it, and I had rice and that sometimes you get that thought right before you're about to eat something horrible. You're like, should I do this? And I got the thought, like, should I do this? Should I try to hold out? And I'm like, no, what you holding out for? So moving away from the goal being actually to get sugar fast in is doing a lot for my mental health. And I just got to really accept that the weight is going to move off slower. But I also got to make sure the weight is trending down because right now I am stalled between 266 and 270. I haven't seen anything lower. I haven't seen too many readings higher unless I weigh myself way at the end of the night or I weigh myself with my clothes on. But still got to make sure that weight is going down. So we will see. Road to 195. I'll see you there.
I'm learning stuff from Sugar is Life. He has some great videos up. I strongly recommend go over there and subscribe. He's got awesome information. That amount of water sitting in my stomach, and with it being that cold, just like starts to bring that body temperature down. And obviously, if I did that here and there, I wouldn't have that problem. But I was doing it like 2-3 times a day, every day. And these shakes were, they're like huge. Then I'll throw them in the freezer. I freeze it, and then so now what I'll do is with the extra smoothie stuff that I have here and there, I'll have it way less, right? And then I'll also put it in the fridge rather than sticking it back in the freezer when I have the leftover stuff. So it's a little warmer. I'll go outside and have it in the sun. But the other issue was it was cold outside too at my house, or where I live in Northern California. And I'd go outside and I'd get the sunlight and I'd be sucking down this Slurpee that's cold. So I wasn't like in disbelief that I was cold. I just was curious as to, is there something about the fruit that could be triggering this? And again, Sugar is Life did pose some good arguments that, yeah, possibly. It could just be, a lot of, like, just so much fructose, down regulating your hormones a little bit. And so that was interesting to hear that. And so now I'm trying to introduce a little bit more starch, a little.
Yeah, the fructose. I've learned a lot about fructose over the last couple of days. I didn't know about the separate pathway from glucose and how special is treated by your liver. But in nature, when sugar is delivered through nature, it seems to be like 40% fructose. Like there's a lot of fructose in maple syrup. There's a lot of fructose in natural honey. I keep saying natural honey because I do local honey, but honey in general. So there's always like an appeal to nature or what we used to eat, and if it's designed that way and it grows that way, I don't think it's too horrible for us, especially in the absence of fat because it behaves totally different. So, but I didn't look up the video for Sugar is Life. Maybe I react to that next so I can, um, you know, get schooled, get some education about me.
A little bit more glucose into the diet. What is the diet?
What happened to my audio?
That was interesting to hear that. And so now I'm trying to introduce a little bit more starch, a little bit more glucose into the diet. What is the diet? It's, I guess it doesn't have to be called the sugar diet anymore, but I don't know why couldn't be, because all the carbohydrates that you consume do turn to glucose in the body.
No, my mic didn't pick up any of that. That sucks. I don't want to edit. Now I have to edit. Boo. Damn it. But what I was saying is we're just going to end this video here because it's a long rambling video. Long live the sugar diet. I will forever call it the sugar diet. That's what it is in my heart of hearts. I think the name sugar diet teaches people how to overcome that fear of sugar, and it's I'm not gonna use the word propaganda because like it can be harmful. So too much sugar in your blood is toxic. Period. Um. So, but if you use it the right way, if you use it in the absence of other nutrients, it tends to behave differently, and it's hard to stomach at first. So, long live the sugar diet. Thank you, Mark Bell, for being reasonable with your changes and honest and open about. Sorry, I could have been wrong, but I never misunderstood you from the jump. You've been the blueprint for me here, and I appreciate that you drop content. Peace, y'all.